Angela with Wilderness Survival Systems. And usually I'm on the back side of these video productions, but today we're talking about my expertise, which is emergency medicine. I've been in the emergency medical field for the last 30 years now. I've been in the Army National Guard as a flight medic for 22 years. I spent time in Iraq, Kuwait, Bosnia, Egypt, all over the United States. Done combat medicine, I've done civilian medicine with volunteering for the ambulance service, with search and rescue, with ski patrol, and I've been a nurse in a hospital for 28 years. And the last 15 of that has been primarily in the emergency department. But enough about me. What we're going to be talking about today is our tourniquet in our kit, which is the SWAT-T. We chose the SWAT-T tourniquet for several different reasons. As you know, we like equipment that has multiple uses, which the SWAT over your other standard tourniquets has numerous uses for it. The CAT, which is primarily used in the military, the RATS, the soft W, they're all great tourniquets, but that is their only use is as a tourniquet. Also, the SWAT tourniquet can be used on very small limbs to very large limbs, where the CAT and the soft both are limited on the size that you can use. You cannot use it on very tiny limbs like a kid or a pet. And also if you have a very large, say, thigh, it's not going to work well for that either. The RATs will work for very small or very large limbs, but a disadvantage of the RATs is that it is a very thin tourniquet. And the thinner the tourniquet, the more pain it's going to cause. So where on the SWAT-T, it's very wide, so it's not nearly as painful as the RATs or even the CAT would be. So those are the main reasons on why we chose the SWAT-T over the other tourniquets. All right, so now I'm going to show how to put on a tourniquet. Now, if you need a tourniquet, it's if you have spurting blood, you have an amputation, it looks really bad, then you want to put one on right away. So let's say that I have an injury right near the knee, whether it's just above the knee, just below the knee, that's where I'm going to say that my injury is. Let's say I was out here using a knife and jabbed it into my thigh and I have blood spurting right here. Not a good thing, spurting blood's not good. So grab my tourniquet here, and with the SWAT-T, the instructions are right on it. So it has down where you want to stretch it and wrap it, and you want to have the ovals turn to circles and the diamonds turn into squares. So you put it an inch or two above where your wound is. You start by doing one wrap, like so, and really that's sometimes the hardest part is getting that first wrap on there real nice like that. Then once you have that first wrap, now the tourniquet is sticking to itself. So now you come into the stretch and wrap. So you stretch it till you have your circles and your diamonds, and then you wrap. And then you continue to stretch and wrap until you have it all the way on. Now, as I said, these wide tourniquets are not nearly as painful as the thinner ones, but it does hurt. Now, a little trick is that when you're about ready for your last wrap, put your fingers and hold on to it right here. Stretch and wrap the last wrap, and then you can easily tuck under that last one. And that is definitely cutting off the circulation to my legs, so I'm going to end that video right there. I'm going to go over how to self-apply the SWAT-T tourniquet if you only have one extremity. So I'm going to say that my arm has been amputated traumatically right here. It's bleeding. I'm worried about it. So I only have the one arm to work with. So I grabbed the SWAT-T. It has the notches, like I said, all the way around. So I'm just going to grab it and open this, just like so. And then you can get it open like that. Now I'm going to just let it actually fall out like so. Now for doing that first wrap, what seems to work good is if you lay it over your arm and kind of tuck that tail up underneath. Because once it's sticking to itself, it wraps much easier. So obviously this part of my arm's not going to be getting in the way. So now that I have one wrap, now I can stretch and wrap. And if it wrinkles on itself, it gets a little thinner, so it's kind of nice if you can keep it as straight as you can. Wrap, continue to stretch and wrap, and it is definitely getting tight. A few more wraps. And the last wrap is going to be the hardest one in order to get the tuck in, but it doesn't need to be quite as tight as the other wraps because the other wraps are sticking to themselves. So now we'll get under that last wrap, which is kind of the hardest part here, just like so. And there you go. That is how you can self-apply to yourself. Like we said earlier, we chose the SWAT-T tourniquet because it can be used for many other things other than just a tourniquet. Tourniquets are very rarely needed. When you need them, but it's on a rare occasion that you need it, luckily. But there are other instances that you would need your SWAT-T that would come in very handy. Let's say you have a big cut here that's bleeding and you want to put a pressure dressing on it. You put your gauze on and then you wrap as you would for the tourniquet, but you want the ovals and the diamonds to stay that way. You don't want them turning into circles and squares. You can even kind of hold on one side, pull a little tighter over the wound, and then have it a little looser on the back side. And then again, when you get to the end, then you will tuck it under, just as you would normally. Another use for this is just to hold an ice pack in place. Let's say you sprained your wrist. You can put the ice pack on it and then use the SWAT-T to hold it in place. Again, you're not going to be pulling tight. You're just going to be using it to hold it in place. And you notice it really conforms well to the limb, to the ice pack, anything like that. It's not something that is going to shift and come loose. Another use is to hold a splint in place. I have a universal splint that we carry in our kit. I'm not going to go over at the moment on putting it on. That's a whole different video. But let's say you have your splint on your leg that you probably broke. Now you can take the SWAT-T and wrap it around. And again, it's conforming nice to the splint in the leg. So if it shifts, it's still holding the leg nicely. And it's nice and long, so it can wrap all the way down and then tuck back underneath again. And those are just a few of the different uses for the SWAT-T. All right, so if my partner Zeke here behaves, I'm going to show you how you can apply the tourniquet to your pet's leg. So of course I'm not going to put this on real tight, but just like on a person, you do your initial wrap around, and then you would pull on the tourniquet so that your ovals are turning to circles and your diamonds are turning to squares. So you would continue to wrap around, pulling and wrapping, just like on a person. And if you're applying this to a pet or a kid, you're going to be doing a lot more wraps than you would on a larger limb. But just as any other limb, when you get to the last wrap, you tuck under that final wrap, and that is how you apply the tourniquet to a small limb. The SWAT-T tourniquet is part of our Advanced Individual First Aid Kit. It can also be bought separately on the site. Just like any of the equipment, just like our motto to don't be safe, be prepared, is that being prepared, you need to know what equipment you have and how to use it. So I recommend that you practice with it. You're going to be stressed if you have to actually use it. And so using it, practicing with it, it's a great piece of equipment. Thanks for watching, and visit us at www.wildernesssurvivalsystems.com.